People kill, people die, and children hurt, and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach, or would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, and some guidance from above. 'Cause people got me questioning, where is the love? The love, the love, where is the love? The love, the love, the love, the love, where is the love? The love, the people kill, people die, and children hurt, and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? Would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, and some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mama. I think the whole world addicted to the drama, only attracted to things that will bring you trauma. The love, where is the love? The love, the love, the love, the love, where is the love? The love, the people kill, people die, and children hurt, and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? Would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, and some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love?
People kill, people dying. Can you practice what you preach? Father, 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 help us. People got me questioning, where is the love?
People kill, people die, and children hurt, and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? Would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, and some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love?
What's up, party people of the SFL? Don't be jealous about my music. They're Lone Star Glory and Bo Martin Jr. I see your comments in the chat. Don't think I'm not watching just because I'm not talking yet. What's up, party people of the SFL? Good evening. Welcome to episode 54 of Axis Live. I'm your host, Dave Axis. I want to thank each of you for tuning in tonight. We've got another amazing show lined up for you this evening. First, we have the final show of our three-part draft recap series. Tonight we'll be concentrating on Carolina, Denver, Florida, Jacksonville, Queen City, and Sioux Falls. We've got the wisest man in the SFL dropping his pearls of wisdom later for us, as always. And then a very special treat tonight. We have three Season 16 drafted rookies that are here tonight to share their personal, compelling stories. So make sure that you stick around for that near the end of the show, and make sure you have your Kleenex boxes nearby, because I think this is going to be one of those epic shows like the ones that we've talked about in the past. So also, if there's enough time and if there's enough interest, we'll hit some Axis After Dark at the end. We had like four bits of news from the SFL drop just this evening, probably all within the last hour. So I don't know if anybody's going to want to talk about any of that, but it looks like we will be looking for a new director of social media, a new director of content, digital content, sorry. The league announced this evening that we now also have, let me pull it up here, mini helmets for every single SFL team. Let me see if I can find. It is 97sportspromotions.com. So if you want to go get a helmet of your SFL team, that's where you need to go to get it. And then the last bit of news that dropped is there will be a new website starting on January 19th, so in about a week and a half, just in time for the season to kick off that following weekend. It looks like Big Red Jelly is going to be the company that's going to come do it. My understanding is that was initiated, I think, by Wally, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like we're going to have a new website. So we got a new website. We got mini helmets. We need new directors for digital content and social media. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot going on in the SFL tonight. So all of that being said, let's check out the party people in the chat tonight. We got Freddie, we got Harish, Cliff Grizzly, Bullet Beletsky, Nate Hall's here, David Harrell, Will Todd, my lovely wife Pink Lisa's here, Chris Lee, Hubba Breezy, Tyler Falk, Jason France, Bo Martin Jr., Charles is in the house. Who else we got here? Ray, good to see you, sweetie. She's in the house as well. Hike the Earth, Hugo, good to see you, bro. Glad to see you in the chat. Epic Esports, Cam. Kendra Hall, good to see you and Nate, both. Big Dog 44, what's up? Farnsy's in the house. Gunny, of course. God, I hope Gunny's in the house since he's on the show. Cregan. Hey, we just talked about you last show, Tom, just in case you weren't listening, which I'm sure you were. Mike the Machine All is here. That's probably a good thing as well. The Riddler is in the house again. Hey, there's Cam. Jason France, tight end. Dion, let me know. I don't know what he's talking about, but good to see you back. James Klein from Carolina, owner of Carolina. Good to see you, buddy. David Leathers, good to see you too. Bayou City Chef is here. Eagle Mondavi. Man, we got a packed house again. Chris Lee, of course. And I think that's about it. And Ron Cochran sneaks in at the wire, at the buzzer. What do you know? All right. You guys ready to get this party started or what? Let's check out tonight's guests. As you know, before I introduce them, we have done 2 other shows of draft content. We talked to 8 teams the first show. We talked to 7 teams on the last show. There's 3 teams that did not draft. And then tonight we have our last 6 teams. 5 of the 6 teams will be represented tonight. I've asked Tyler to step in for the team that we weren't able to get anybody on for. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll show up before we get started. Who knows for sure. But in the meantime, let me kick this off. Let me start introducing peeps. So first from from Carolina. That's why James is here. I see that. James, I don't see your name in the chat very often, but I see you tonight, and now I know why. I just put it together. All right. One of the owners from Carolina, Harish Prasad, making his Axis Live debut, ladies and gentlemen. Harish, how you doing? What's up?
Hello, Dave. I'm doing wonderful, and I'm glad to finally be on the show. How are you doing?
I'm glad to finally have you. It's been a long time since you've been on the show, like forever. So I'm glad it finally broke you and you got on here, bro. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
You got it. Second, the general manager from Queen City, Albert Begin, is in the house. Albert, what's going on with you, bro?
Not much, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. Thanks for coming on the show tonight, bro.
My pleasure.
You got it. Also, the general manager from Florida, J.W. Doyle, is in his house. Doyle, what is up?
Glad to actually be asked to be on the show and not just show up randomly.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, I think, anyway. But I mean, you're going to have to be on one of these shows anyway, right? We're going to talk about all the teams. You're going to be here. Also, the assistant general manager from Jacksonville, Mr. Mike All. Mike, I'm glad you got the night right. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, nobody ever knows when your shows are on, Dave, but I'm happy to make my 5th debut on Access Live.
Your 5th day. You're keeping track of that, I see. Awesome.
Something like that.
Good to hear that. At least somebody's keeping track. Let me see. Who else we got here? So check this out, you guys, real quick. Before I announce this next person, I want to say a very special shout out, 2 special shout outs actually. One goes to the owner of Denver, JV. Jeremy, I know you're traveling. You're probably not listening tonight, but I want to say happy birthday. That's why he could not be on the show tonight. So Jeremy, happy birthday. I think it's his 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And the next person I announce can confirm that possibly. And then also, I want to send a very special shout out to Kramer Jackman. For those of you who don't know, he actually was diagnosed with COVID. He is on the back end now. It sounds like he is recovering well. He's feeling better. He's gotten through the tough part. So, Kramer, we're thinking of you, bro. Get well soon, and then hopefully we can get you on the show as well. So, representing the Denver franchise this evening on the show, their head scout, Mr. Marlon Marshall. Marlon, how you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? Happy to finally get on the show. I watch you all the time, so I'm happy to finally be on here.
Dude, all you do is reach out and say, yo, Dave. I mean, you should just do what Doyle does. Doyle just crashes the party all the time. You could just do the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't know, bro. I didn't know how this thing go, but I'm happy to be here for sure.
Yeah, no worries. Good to have you. And then can you confirm, is it Jeremy's 30th birthday? Do we know that for sure?
I think so. I think he's officially done with the 20s.
Oh, so he's not a baby anymore. He's not a child.
Nah, grown man.
All right, awesome. All right, thanks for being on the show tonight, bro. Appreciate it. Let me see. Who am I missing? I think that's it for the team reps. Tyler Falk is with us. As you know, I totally dissed Tyler last show. Forgot to go to him about the SFL drafting content. But tonight, because we do not have a representative from Sioux Falls, Tyler's going to sit in and give us his opinion about their one draft pick. Tyler, thanks for coming on the show. Welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks again for having me on. I do want to quickly make a shout out real quick as well. I just found out with the last couple minutes that Ashley Jackson's father has been hospitalized, and from what she has told me, it's not looking too positive. So I'm sending my thoughts and prayers her way and her dad's way, and wishing them all the best with whatever they're going through.
Absolutely. Ashley, I think that Tyler speaks for all of us when we say that we hope your dad actually recovers, and that we're thinking of you, we're praying for you. Can't wait to hear back from you, and hopefully he'll be doing better. Thank you, Tyler, for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it. All right, so the few guests that we have in... Actually, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to announce them now. Later in the show, after we talk about the draft and after Gunny gives us his pearls of wisdom, we have three extremely compelling stories of three rookie draftees from season 16. The first is Chris Lee, he was the 6th overall pick, wide receiver for Los Angeles. Chris, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, surrounded with all these great people.
Awesome. And thanks for coming on. I know you're going to have to hold on for a while we talk all this football stuff, but appreciate you coming on.
All talk's important.
Sounds good. Also, Mr. Evan Lacey, 2nd-round pick for Lone Star, the glorious Lone Star Glory. Free safety is with us as well to tell us his story. Evan, how you doing tonight, bro? Oh, Evan, you're muted, bro. I told Evan he didn't have to stick around because he wasn't coming on until later, and I just pulled an audible and decided to announce them anyway. So I guess you'll meet Evan later in the show. And then, of course, Mr. Mike Ryan, who is Tyler Falk, will have a special guest with him to tell his story this evening as well. So let's get into some football. Harish, I'm going to start with you. I'm kind of going to go in this the order that you guys picked. So starting with Carolina, and we're gonna go round by round, just like we did the last two shows. So you guys picked Cliff Grizzly. He's a very well-known name in the Access Live community. He's on all the shows. He's in the in my chat all the time. He's also in the SFLM chat and the SFL General chat. Harish, tell us about the person that Cliff Grizzly is before we get into who the player is.
Yeah, when we were looking at people we wanted to pick up, within my first encounter with Cliff, I figured he would be a guy that would fit in really well with the locker room because, like you said, he's one of the active guys, and if you know anything about our locker room, we're the people that like to talk a lot. We're
Yeah.
active. You know,
Yep.
we're a close knit family, and
It's
we like to mess around
Skyhawk
a lot.
after dark in general all the time. I get it.
Yeah, basically. So, just having lost a lot of that activity, with Sully and Ray being gone, I definitely thought he would be a personality that would benefit the locker room a lot. So, a big reason we picked Cliff was because of his personality.
Oh, did we lose you, or was that the end of your
Uh,
sentence?
that was the end of my sentence.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's continue on that. How's he doing in the locker room? How is the team relating to him? And how is Cliff handling the craziness of the Carolina locker room?
Um, we have this tradition whenever we add new people to the locker room, and if you guys know anything about Tristan Hatley, he's one of the most how do I put this, interesting characters we have,
Yes. Yes, he is.
to put it nicely. And it's a tradition that anybody that steps into the locker room, Tristan has to say something very odd. And
And how did Cliff handle that?
much better than I would have expected, honestly.
Okay.
there we get one of two reactions. We get the "what the hell did he just say?"
Right.
or we get the people that go with it. Like Logan Jack was one that went with it.
Well, I'm not
and then,
surprised because I see what he says in Gen, so I can only imagine what he says in the locker room.
it's I could just say it's not better.
Right? Cliff just put in the chat. He says, "I guarantee there's no other locker room like Carolina." I'm pretty sure we all agree with you, Cliff. All right, let's talk about Cliff Grizzly, the player. First of all, you had a few different needs. Why did you go with Cliff? Why did you go with defensive end in the first round instead of putting that off?
So as far as what we've done in the off season was a big factor in why we went with a defensive end. There was, I'm sure, like I know it's been talked about here with us going with the four linebackers, and a lot of that has to do with the way we're switching up our defense. And when we saw Cliff's build, he was the perfect size for exactly what I was looking for in running a defense. The the 280 pound and all that. And as his build was progressing, I was watching his build closely during each progression and the way he would play on the field, and looking for a little bit of speed on the edge. And we wanted to get more of a D line presence because that was one that kind of hurt our run defense a little bit last season.
Right.
And so Cliff was a guy who I thought would fit in really well with the defense, and running some tests with his build, I'm really thinking that's going to be what we see with the Carolina defense next season.
So, what was the backup plan if Cliff was not available at number 8?
So, as you guys know, the other pick we had was a free safety. So, we probably would have gone with free safety because I also wanted to get some good value there, having lost Ray. And, we did have Chad Stinson, yes, and he would have been an okay build to fit in there, but we wanted somebody with more developed attributes and a more well-rounded build to be in that starting free safety spot. So, we did pick up Monte White. He was one of the options, in Emmanuel Blackman, which I know Chad mentioned my interest in him in the last show.
Right.
He's another one that was very high up on the draft board. Became really close friends with that guy, actually. I still talk to him a good amount. Tom Krieg, who I had a very interesting interview with, was another option.
Tom's name comes up with almost every team we talk to. A lot of people had interest in him.
The funny thing about my conversation with Tom Krieg is that my interview with him was over us playing Call of Duty.
Nice.
Definitely the most interesting interview I've had.
Oh, dude, I'm a big Tom Krieg fan. Love it. And you know what? Interesting interview. That sounds like it would be right down Carolina's avenue. So, all right. Harish, thanks for your first round. I'll get back to you about your second round pick in a few minutes. In the meantime, let me move over to Queen City. Albert. As I'm looking at this, another very popular name in the SFLM, along with the Access Live show and SFL M Chat, the Gen Chat, everything, is Hubba Crimble, fullback. You guys also had a couple different ways you could have gone there. Same question that I asked Harish. Tell us about Hubba, the person, and how he's fitting into the Queen City locker room.
All right. Well, what's to say about Hubba? He's a good guy. He's very opinionated. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
He's a good fit in our locker room. He brings element that we have, but he stirs up chat a little bit more than just silence. So I mean, he's a good guy overall.
So, like I said, he's a very well-known commodity. Um, why? So, were you guys looking to fill fullback? Was that the priority, or did you want Hubba as the person and player himself? Was that the priority? Which way did that go? Was it Hubba or the position?
A little of both. Believe it or not, Hub reached out to me first a while back, introduced himself. I've had multiple chats with him even before we decided to what direction we were actually going to go in with our first round pick. And then we talked and talked. He grew on me. I introduced him to the owner. He grew on the owner. I mean, he's just like I said, all around guy. I think as for position wise, it was a need. We filled it, but more of a character based pick.
So, okay, if Hubba wasn't available there, were you still going to go fullback, or did you have your eyes on another position? Were you going to go with who you picked up in the second round? How would that have broken down if Hubba wasn't available?
So with Hubbard not being available, we were going to go to our second round pick, was a middle linebacker.
Okay.
There was a lot of options at that point, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to the second one. Let me also ask, you said Hubba is opinionated, and he actually cracked a joke in there. Opinionated is such a nice way to say it, he put in the chat. How is that going in a veteran Queen City locker room? Is he shaking things up, or is everything meshing well?
No, everything's meshing well. I mean, Hubba's Hubba. That's the best way I can describe it. If you know him, then you get his little quirks. He fits in very well with me. We're very honest people. We're very straightforward. So there's really no clash. Really, you just know if you ask Hubba a question, you're gonna get the answer.
Okay, it sounds good. All right, stick around. Let me see. I'm gonna make sure you guys had yeah, okay. So you have a second round pick. So I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Let me move on to Florida and Doyle. Doyle, Florida is the only team tonight that actually had 3 picks and also 3 different rounds. I just want to ask you about your first round pick right now, Greg McDonaldson, offensive lineman. Did you guys already have it in your mind you were going offensive line no matter what? Or how did that break down for you guys?
About 3 days before the draft was when we decided we wanted offensive line, and then about 2 days before, we literally got just Greg. I think it was like Greg McDonaldson OL on the top of the board that Marty sent us, and that was like the only dude on the board for that
I
moment.
was going to say there was
And so
only, what, 1 or 2 maybe? Was there only 1 offensive lineman in the whole draft?
I believe there were 4 or 5. I think there were 4 or 5, but
Tyler will look that up for us and blurt it out here momentarily, I'm sure.
but
Go ahead.
he was definitely the only one that like stood out to Marty, because there were plenty of other people that stood out to us, but we felt that offensive line was the best choice for us at that pick.
Right. Real quick, Hacker put in the chat, he said there were 2 offensive linemen. Kendra Hall says, off that list, which one is the rookie who will make the biggest impact? We'll get to that moment. We'll talk about that in a little bit, Kendra. Let me ask you this, Doyle, then. If Greg wasn't available, were you going to grab the other offensive lineman? Was that the plan?
I think we were gonna grab one of the other offensive linemen, but I think the main thing was that we have already had Richards in our locker room before, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think Marty just wanted fresh blood in the locker room rather than someone that we'd already had
Oh,
previously.
okay. It looks like Robert Garrett Jr. and Tyler are clarifying that there were 2, but one was an offensive lineman, the other one was an offensive line coach, which gets to control 5 linemen. So that was the difference. Let me ask you this, and again, because this is a new rule and it wasn't a need for us, how would that have affected the offensive line for Florida if you had to grab the offensive line coach? Would you have had more than one offensive lineman, or would cap and roster spots would that have been an issue for that?
So we actually talked about it, and not necessarily for this draft, but for the future. And we basically talked about how you could just blow it up and make a full 5 stack of offensive linemen,
Right.
and you could do it to help either the passing or the running game. Because if you like don't get a running back now, you just have a massive offensive line, then next thing you know, you have a really good offensive line and a solid passing game because like you have plenty of time in the pocket.
Yeah, the issue
But
there though is cap, right?
yeah, it would be cap. You would literally have to lose your running back to fund
So that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
yeah. But I mean, like, if you're a team like Florida that could get, we'll probably talk about this later, but a team like Florida that can get a fullback by itself and then have no running back, you could probably get away with it. But I don't think we're gonna try. I don't think anyone's gonna try anything with like a 5 stack of offensive linemen for the next few years.
Okay, awesome. Greg is not as big a household name, or at least not to me. Maybe I'm mistaken. In the SFLM, I'm sure people in the SFLM knew who he was. I don't see his name a lot in chat, so I didn't know a whole lot about him. How is he doing in the Florida locker room? Is he a quiet guy or what?
Honestly, the entire locker room has been sort of quiet over the off season. I think we'll definitely be more active, but I do think all three of our draft picks will be active after like time passes and they get used to it.
Okay, awesome. Real quick, Doyle, I'm going to ask you about your other draft picks here in a second. I'm getting ready to move on to Jacksonville. But in the meantime, I just want everybody to know I just received a DM from the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, who wants to come on the show here in about 15 minutes to give some breaking news. So just a little heads up on that. And it has nothing to do with the four things I mentioned earlier either. So be ready for in the next maybe 15, 20 minutes for Cam to come on to give some breaking SFL news. Yeah, Rutro, Harish. I think Harish is in trouble. The breaking news is Harish, you're getting hurt every game this season. Hey, yo. All right, Doyle. Thank you, bro. Let's move on to Jacksonville. Mike All. You guys went linebacker here. I know you guys lost a linebacker in Lawless. Was this just a replacement for him? Was it a position move, or were you guys hot on Keenan Samuels himself? Oh.
Well, so yeah, so the plan was, and obviously Frank is one of the OG big brains of the SFL, and Frank had a plan going into the off season that we wanted to add a fullback and go to three linebackers. So obviously we did the big free agent signing of Iggy Swift, and we were going to add one more piece of the puzzle to the linebacking core. And then, due to outside circumstances, we lost J.R. Lawless, which was a big piece of our defense.
Right.
So that changed our plan for the whole of the draft. But yeah, going in, there was a couple guys I was looking at and a couple guys I was high on, and Keenan was definitely one of those guys. He's a really positive guy. He's active, and since he's come to the team, he's been right there in the locker room. All gung ho, ready to go, ready to jump in where needed. He wants to be a big part of the team, and he's really fitting in nicely.
So, I know, and we'll talk about your second round draft pick in a moment, which was also a linebacker. Did you guys have any other needs you were looking at besides linebacker, or was it linebacker was the game plan the whole way through?
Linebacker, all the way through.
linebacker, all the way through. Sounds like a little kid's playground chant or something, like Red Rover, Red Rover. So Jacksonville needs linebackers. They take linebackers. They take Keenan Samuels first. How is Keenan doing in the locker room? Tell us about Keenan the person and how he's meshing in the Jacksonville locker room. You guys got a few characters over there as well.
Yeah, so Keenan the person, he's actually the only person that reached out to me to talk about joining the team, whereas I had to reach out to everybody else that I talked to. And he came in strong, and he was like, "Look, I love Jacksonville. I like everything I see about it, and I'd really love to be a part of the team. I hope you'll consider me." And so him and I had a lot of talks, and we just really clicked. He's got a great personality. He's super positive. Sadly, shortly before the draft, he lost his grandmother, but I was real supportive of him, and he was really appreciative, and we kept talking, and I was there for him, and he stuck out to me as a guy that despite the fact that he was only around for 6 games, he had a good build, and his personality and his activity showed me that he was the guy we wanted on our team.
That's awesome. Okay. All right, Mike, thanks for sharing that. I will be back to you shortly with the second round, with your second round pick, which is also a linebacker. I want to move on to Denver now if Marlon is back. Marlon, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, Riley Quintero, one of my favorite picks of the entire draft. I loved him. He's been on the show a couple times. Loved his play in the SFL minor league. Loved his play in the playoffs, the championship game, the whole 9 yards. He's just a really great guy. We also had him on our board, but knew he wouldn't make it to us. We didn't think he was going to make it to us. Of course, we had Deuce first anyway. But Marlon, tell us about Riley. Tell us, actually, before you tell us about him as a person, tell us, were you going after Riley? Did he just happen to fall to you? Because I kind of feel that's where we're going with this, because a lot of people expected him to go in the top maybe 7 or 8 picks. So obviously you had your eye on him, but did he fall to you? And were you going wide receiver the whole time, or did he just fall into your lap?
Honestly, man, it was just a blessing. He just fell. He just kept falling. He was the number one on our board. We had 5 receivers. We were going receiver the whole time after we got the news about Logan leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, man, we immediately got to work. I was my first time being the head scout. I just want to be involved with the team in some kind of way, and I'm into scouting like 100%. And so I've known Riley since the first year of the SFLM. We were teammates. And he did get picked up, which was shocking to me that day. And then I just told him, man, just keep your nose down, man. Just keep grinding. Don't be too discouraged, because everybody doesn't get picked up, man. You get another chance. And look what happened to him. He ended up being the best receiver in the entire SFLM, and he just fell to us. And I'm taking it 100%.
Yeah. So if Riley wasn't there, though, were you going to go wide receiver with someone else, or were you guys going wide? I mean, I know you only had one pick. Did you have
Yeah.
any other needs, or was it just wide receiver? Whatever wide receiver there was the best one you were going to grab.
Oh, no, for sure. If Riley wasn't there, which we fully expected, we had 2 other guys. I'm a part of the Memphis coaching staff, by the way.
Okay.
So Michael Hammer was definitely the second guy, but the third guy was definitely Ritter, because he was a pop guy. And out of that number 3 slot, that 3 slot spot, I mean, he had just as many yards as Riley did with less receptions. So I was looking at numbers, looking at builds, and his numbers just popped out. And we talked to everybody. Michael was a good guy. Ritter was a good guy, but Riley ended up being the one.
Yeah, real quick, I'm sorry. Hubba Breezy in the chat, like Red Rover, Red Rover. He's like, linebacker the whole way through. Here comes Big Dog chasing after you. I told you it sounded like a playground thing. I don't know, why are we talking about Show 69, Harish? I don't know what that's all about. I'll ask you that when I come back to you. But Marlon, I'm a big Riley Quintero fan, but tell us about Riley. Why? I mean, obviously everybody loved his build, loved him as a player, but what did you love about him as a person to make him the 20th draft pick of the draft?
Man, just being humble. He wasn't full of himself. And he was always just, supportive of the team. Always wanted to do great. If he didn't have a lot of catches one game, he didn't care. As long as we got the W, that's the only thing that mattered. Me and Riley conversate all the time. Good dude. He's active in the locker room. The team loves him. Adam was a coach for him and for myself. So we love RQ, man. We call him Agent RQ because he's quiet, he's under the radar, and he does his job. So we call him Agent RQ, man. So that's what he's going by right now.
All right, we'll have to start playing that on this show. We'll get some traction on that nickname.
Get him the James Bond theme song next time he comes on.
Oh, we'll do. That's perfect. So you mentioned if Riley wasn't there, Hammer, and I forget the other one you said.
Ritter.
And Ritter, right. So what are your thoughts on Hammer not even being drafted? I mean, he could have. Think about the scenario. If Riley goes earlier, and he's already taken, come 20, you take Hammer. Hammer's a first-round draft pick, but because you didn't pick him at 20, now he's not even in the league or in the SFL at all.
I don't know, man. That was baffling. And the thing about Michael was, man, he was a good dude. Like, he was always supportive, just like Riley was. Like, he reminded me a lot of Riley on the personality level. But his player was amazing. Always like 6'3", 220.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And having that in the slot across the middle with the way the league is now, man, that would tear the middle of the field apart, being that big. But with him not even being picked up, granted, it's my second year in the league, and I'm still learning things. And with him not being picked up, it just shocked me. It's all it is. But every team has a plan. Every team has an idea, and I can't knock anybody for doing that.
Awesome. All right, Marlon. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We only had the one guy to talk about for you, but if you want to stick around, maybe I can squeeze in some other Denver news. If you need to bounce, I
Yeah, for
understand that.
sure.
I understand that too. But either way, you make sure you let Jeremy know happy birthday from us, and let Kramer know we're thinking of him and hope he gets better as well.
I will do, man, and I will enjoy the rest of the show with you guys
All
for
right,
sure.
appreciate that. And tell RQ what's up, man. I love having that guy, and he needs to be back on the show again pretty soon.
Yeah, man, we'll probably link up and do it together one time. I'm gonna holler at him, man.
That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, yes, Harish, it's a weird day when you're on the show and Eddie isn't. I think this is the only show Eddie hasn't been on. So, Sioux Falls, I wasn't able to get anybody on the show from them. So I've asked Tyler Falk to come and talk about Sioux Falls draft pick since he was a very active person in the SFL minor league, not just as a player but as an announcer, and he's done some draft stuff that you guys have seen as well. So Tyler. Do you know Charlemagne Cornelius? Do you know him at all?
Yeah, he was very active in the minor league chat. Had a couple of very good conversations with Charlemagne. I gotta say, one of the coolest names to call on a live con, as far as during my time in the SFL commentary box. But I think the big story out of why Sioux Falls even had a draft pick to begin with was when Jalen Wells decided he didn't want to be a fullback anymore. He wanted to be a star running back, and he decided to test free agency and ultimately went to San Diego. And so that left a huge hole in Sioux Falls. And as we all know, Sioux Falls loves to have a three-headed rushing attack. So it's kind of surprising for me, if you're looking at it like a player standpoint, that they picked a fullback that has a receiving touchdown in Charlemagne Cornelius. They didn't, but then again, it all comes down to scheme. Birmingham didn't run the ball a whole lot with their fullback or their running back, Douglas Brown, a whole lot this past minor league season, but they were really active with the backs in the passing department. So Charlemagne had over 30 yards receiving in the previous season. But Charlemagne Cornelius as a person is a fantastic person to be around. I'm sure he is being very active in the Sioux Falls locker room and already making an impact there. And I'm pretty sure we don't really hear too much from Sioux Falls in general on a day-to-day basis, but I'm sure they're getting him acquainted to the rest of the team and to their playbook and telling him about how they're going to do things. And one thing we might see is maybe Sioux Falls taking a little bit out of Birmingham's playbook and schemes, is maybe get Charlemagne the ball through the air every now and then.
It's interesting. If Jalen doesn't leave, then Sioux Falls isn't even drafting. Just because someone left, they had one spot open. They filled that exact spot as a fullback. I don't know how many fullbacks, you might know, you followed it a little closer than I did, how many fullbacks were available for the draft and how many actually got drafted. I see only 2 here in the first round. If Charlemagne doesn't get picked up by Sioux Falls because Jalen Wells stays, does Charlemagne get drafted later?
Yeah, I think there were, if I remember correctly, there were 3 fullbacks. I think we mentioned Hubba Kimbrough, and then we had Charlemagne Cornelius, and then a late addition to the minor league, Nick Hoagland, who was picked up by San Diego. I believe that was in the second round. No, it was the second round, pick 40. Okay. Nick Hoagland was picked up by San Diego. But no, if Charlemagne wasn't picked up by Sioux Falls, he probably would have gone to San Diego. I think the consensus from the draft panel at the time and from the majority of the league after Jalen Wells left is that Sioux Falls was just going to fill that hole right back up because the identity of Sioux Falls is a power triple-headed running attack. And so to not fill that hole, I think would have been a huge surprise to the entire league.
Right. Awesome. All right, Tyler, thanks for sitting in for Sioux Falls. Appreciate it. We'll get back to you later in the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, man. All right, moving on to round 2. We'll start back at the top. Carolina. We'll talk about their free safety pick, Monty Wyatt, who was also on Lone Star's board. But before I get to that, Harish, what is this 69th show stuff in the chat right now? What's that all about?
I was saying early in the show that I can't wait for your 69 show for
and,
obvious reasons.
and Gunny is the one who figured it out, of course, right?
He sat there and calculated it. Shout out to Gunny.
And what was the date? I didn't. I think I scrolled past it already.
I think it was like March 2nd or something.
Yeah, there, right there. March 2nd. All right, so everybody, stay tuned. March 2nd, 69th show. Hey yo. All right. Back on track. Monty Wyatt. We loved him at Lone Star. We had conversations with him as well. He was definitely on our board. We liked him a lot. Tell us why you guys liked Monty so much.
I just like the energy he brings. You know, he seems like a very team first kind of guy. At least that's the impression I got from him when I first spoke to him. That's the impression I get now. Even after we draft him, I just know he can't wait to hit the field, and he seems like he's a very well-rounded guy.
And how is he meshing in your locker room? Right, that question I asked every team, but it just for some reason means more when I ask Carolina.
He definitely seemed more weirded out than Cliff did. But
Oh, you guys almost scared away.
Usually they know what they're getting into. I don't know if he did. Just it seemed like he was a little off guard, but
Right.
I mean, yeah. Usually after that first, we'll call it a speed bump. People usually get settled in after that once they get used to Tristan's weirdness. He's got to give
Right.
him that.
I was going to ask you if Tristan drove him away or not.
I don't think Tristan has done that yet to any of our guys. At least I don't think anybody has left because of him.
Oh, man. Mike All in the chat. Dave, you should have popped in an image of dead Harish while he's talking. Why didn't I think? Mike, where were you 2 hours ago when I was getting this stuff ready? Unbelievable. Probably Mike didn't realize we had a show tonight, probably, even though he's on it. So
if he did that and didn't tell me about it, I definitely.
Oh, that would have been even funnier, right? That would have been funnier. So I'll surprise next time you're on the show. So if Monty isn't there, Monty seemed pretty popular. If he wasn't there, were you still going DB? And if so, who else were you looking at?
Considering we had considering we had gotten Clift in the first round, yeah, I talked about Tom Krieg was off the board, Christopher Mangle was off the board. I cannot remember if because this was a few weeks ago, so I have to reach back into my memory of who was still left at this point. But like I mentioned, like the names, I know Emmanuel Blackman was gone, Tom Krieg was gone. I can't remember if Josh Rowe went in the first round and Mike Scott went in the first round.
Did you talk to Evan Lacey?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, you weren't supposed to. Just so you know, nobody was supposed to talk to him. All right, so Monty's adjusting to the Carolina locker room at his own pace, apparently. You guys probably saw what we saw. You liked him a lot. You had some backup plans. Was there any other position you could have drafted, or was free safety the only possibility?
Free safety was the main thing we were looking at. I know when Greg Soto did his recap, he talked. I mentioned to him about how our defense was a little bit lacking last season compared to our offense. So the theme of this off season was defense, defense, defense. And with what we've called it in free agency, we wanted to round that up with the talent we got in the draft. So yeah, free safety was the main pick there.
Awesome. Okay. Well, tell Monty congrats for us. And good luck to you guys. Thanks for coming on this show. You guys don't have a third-round draft pick to talk about, so you can stick around with us the rest of the show, or you can bounce, whatever you got to do. But either way, good luck this season, and give our best to Monty, please.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
All right, Harish. Thanks, bro. Let's move on to Queen City. Albert, let's bring you back in. Sean Moore at linebacker. It's a name that I heard a lot in a lot of mock drafts and just other teams talking to linebackers. Seems like somebody that probably should have gone round one. Was he your man the whole way? Did he fall to you? Or how did that break down?
No, Sean was our guy. I talked to him very early.
Oh,
was
Albert,
acting up.
You're going in and out for some reason. Are you on push to talk?
I am. There it goes.
There you go. All right, go ahead. Start over, please.
Sean was that guy from the get go. I've had multiple conversations with him before. What actually pushed it over was the night of the draft when you go first round. I was incredibly shocked that he was going to drop to us. I talked to him the night of to give him encouragement, and then I, basically was like, "This is our guy. Hopefully he comes in." A little selfish with it, but good guy.
So if he did go early, what was your plan there? Was it still linebacker, taking best linebacker on the board, or were you going to go a different direction?
We were actually like 50-50 if he wasn't there. In all reality, we were thinking maybe a tight end, linebacker. This year we decided not to go with an offensive line where, if you noticed last year, it didn't really pay off for us.
Right. Okay. And then how is Sean adapting to the Queen City locker room and all the veterans over there?
Oh, he fits right in. He's a leader. Came right in, started talking. Kind of keeps Hubble under control, I think, a little bit. He he acts like a vet, even though he's a rookie. It's very, very good to see someone like that in the chat room.
Yeah, that's a good demeanor to have, especially for a rookie. What was it about Sean? Was it the player? Was it the person? Was it a combination of both? Did you just fall in love with his build? What made him your guy?
I think it was the conversations we had, the way he handled himself in chats, and even the draft. When I was talking to him, like I said, he was never down. He was always a positive guy. And when you have that much positivity behind a screen, you know he's a good guy. You want him in your locker room. Right. You want him around people because he's going to level. He's going to take all the rookies, the new rookies coming in, put them under his wing, bring them up. So, I mean, he's a really good guy.
Awesome. Yeah, he sounds like a great guy. Congrats on getting him. And good luck the rest of the season. Thanks for being on the show. I know you guys don't have a third-round draft pick to talk about, but if you want to stick around, you're welcome to. If you got to bounce, that's cool too.
It's all good. I'll stick around.
All right, sounds good. Yes, Nate Hall, I know what time it is. I can tell time. I wasn't going to be rude and interrupt my guest like you would have. It is now 9:48. The commish came in 3 minutes ago, has been patiently waiting. Let's bring him in right now, actually. Cameron Irvine, the commissioner of the SFL, coming on here with some breaking news. Cam, how you doing? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave. I've had so many DM conversations; it wasn't a problem at all. So,
yeah. Oh, good. Well, then we'll be back to you in a few minutes. We'll keep the crowd waiting even longer. Nate Hall, I meant 10:45. My bad. All right. So, what's this breaking news you have for everybody to hear for the SFL? We did already talk about the 4 things that you announced earlier today. So I'm assuming this is something different.
Yes, it's been a crazy week, and it's all sort of spilling out here this evening, so that's super exciting. But we have the breaking news of the opening day schedule, television formats, and some things you can expect was teased on NETMA last night, or last week, I should say. And now we're starting to shore some of that up. So I don't really know where to begin, Dave. Where would you like me to start?
Let's start with the opening weekend schedule.
Okay, so opening weekend schedule, Saturday, January 23rd. There are 6 games, Dave. It starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That is Arizona and Baltimore. And that will be on the 11 Sports Network and the FTF Twitch channel. Starting 30 minutes later, the Tulsa Desperados will be at the Atlanta Swarm. That game will begin on the SFL Twitch channel, and then we'll go to TV for bonus coverage at the conclusion of Arizona and Baltimore. We will also have highlights and updates from that game throughout the day on television. At 6:40 p.m. Eastern, Fort Worth is at Queen City as the Corsairs try to become the first SFL team to reach 100 franchise wins. It's also Hacker and Sicario's return to Buffalo. That game in full on the 11 Sports Network and the FTF Twitch channel. And then at 7:15 Eastern, Louisiana and Vancouver, the rematch of last season's playoff game that starts on the SFL's Twitch network. Bonus coverage at the conclusion of Fort Worth and Queen City on 11 Sports and FTF with updates throughout the day or throughout the Fort Worth Queen City game on that Louisiana Vancouver matchup. In the nightcap at 9 p.m. Eastern, Florida takes on Lone Star. That heads the block. That will be on LSN, which is the Lacrosse Sports Network, an affiliation of 11 and FTF. The company is actively turning that network into a multi-sport network as well, and that will be on the FTF Twitch channel. And then at 9:20 p.m. Eastern, Carolina is at Las Vegas, and that is on SFL Twitch. There are no in-game updates, stuff like that during the final block of the evening, but we will have simultaneous coverage there as well. So there you have it, week one opening day.
Okay,
Dave.
so a couple quick questions about that. First, so is the Lone Star Florida game the very first SFL game on their lacrosse network?
Correct. Yes.
So that sounds like those teams are making some glorious history on that game. That sounds amazing. Also, I think I love the Vancouver Louisiana matchup, that rematch, the Lone Star Florida as well. But Nacho and Hacker going back to Queen City and Queen City playing for their 100th. That has to be the story of opening weekend, right?
Yeah, you got the banner raising in Baltimore, and then it's hard to deny that Queen City has 99 franchise victories. Jacksonville has 98 in the updated numbers. Jacksonville can catch their 100th in week 2, and of course they play rival Florida in week 2. So that'll be a huge game. If Jacksonville can take care of Houston in week 1, that game would be later in the week. So yeah, the LSN game, we're also doing some experimentation on FTF Facebook Watch. That game will be as well.
Okay. And then the other question, explain what these extended coverage things are exactly. How are those going to work?
Mike the Machine just said LSN sounds like Lone Star Network to me. Boy, they're really on top of things.
Attaboy,
really
Michael.
on top of things. So basically, when we've got Arizona and Baltimore on TV, on TV games in the what we're calling the A block, the first 4 games of a day, you're going to have pregame, halftime, postgame, and in-game updates on the other action going on around the league. So I'm going to be hosting that studio show. I am now officially open micing a permanent studio host with me, particularly someone that's not already involved in broadcasting but is very involved in all the league going-ons to break down games and such. And then each week on the post-game show, or I'm sorry, each week on the studio show, we are looking to have a representative of a front office or a coach or an owner of each team. There are 24 teams, and there are 24 blocks of coverage on a Saturday and Sunday each of the 12 weeks of the regular season. And so to have that guest on to kind of touch on some of the storylines or features or things going on with that franchise each and every week to help promote you on TV, we're looking forward to that as well. So when you're watching Arizona and Baltimore, if there's a big play that happens in the Tulsa and Atlanta game, we will fill you in and update you on that. You will also have scores from the other game in the upper left-hand corner of all these broadcasts, so you can keep an eye on the other action that's going on at the same time. And, at the end of the block, we'll kind of recap, all that we've seen, talk about some takeaways from the day, highlight some superlatives, things like that.
Do you already know who that host is going to be, and can you announce it tonight on the show?
I don't. I'm looking. I'm actively. I want to see all who are interested in being sort of that permanent studio host with me, and then obviously we'll have the guests from each team every block throughout the season. So yeah, that is ongoing. Just like the other directors we're looking for now, also looking for that studio co-host with me.
Okay, so you guys heard that here. If you're interested, should people just DM you, or how does that work?
Yeah, there will be an official job posting opening going up, but wanted to get it out on the show with the
Okay.
rest of the opening day schedule.
Awesome. Okay, so we got opening day done. What else do you have?
What else? What else? I
Well,
just gave you all that stuff.
No, you asked me where I wanted to start. I said opening day. It's kind of open ended. So if you had more you wanted to tell, I was literally putting the ball on the tee for you.
We had some other we touched on some other segments as well, but some things we haven't talked about. 11 Sports will be the home for the SFL on Saturdays. FTF, in terms of all of their digital platforms and things, will be the host to the SFL on Sundays. And we've really taken a look at things like market size, international coverage, with all this stuff. The 11 Sports Network isn't international, right? But FTF is, and so. You might see more London, Mexico City, Vancouver type games on a Sunday rather than a Saturday because of that international coverage and exposure, things like that. But the other thing, which we're not going to go through all on this because I would just take all night, is all of the dates and times and networks for all of these games have been finalized. It's a 4:30 to 11 Eastern coverage Saturdays and Sundays every week. Super Bowl Sunday is pushed forward to 12:30 to 5, and then we'll pick things up in the 9 o'clock block after the Super Bowl is over. But all these games are scheduled so relatively soon. Hopefully this weekend, we'll be able to give you the dates, times, and networks of all of your team's games this season. Now, of course, the schedule is subject to change. But we've worked with 11 and FTF to try to build a block that is largely interrupted by their other partners in content, and that takes advantage of our highest viewed time slots on television in the weekend afternoons. The sort of 4:30 game on Saturday and Sunday are sort of your headliners, to kind of kick off the day's coverage, and then we carry on into the evening as the sun goes down, all those good things. So that'll be coming out soon as well. So a lot of stuff going on in the works, trying to get all that hammered out and situated. But really excited to kind of debut this kind of new take on the SFL nationally to try to get more teams, more broadcasters, some looks on national television, even if it might not be a full game. With expansion and having more games on a schedule, you run the risk of ending up showcasing less teams. So we thought this format would be great to maximize the time blocks that we had on TV.
Yeah, it all sounds amazing. Last question, and then I'll let you go. Just to remind everybody, we are only doing Saturday and Sunday games this season. No Fridays, no Mondays.
That's correct. There's the weekday games have been wiped from the schedule, and that was a ratings thing. That was what we wanted to do with the blocks of games thing, and just kind of a shake up there. I think it'll be great, kind of having everything all in a segment, and a chance to kind of get everybody's fix for a good long while on a whole bunch of games. So
no, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. So we got the studio stuff, we got the website, we got the helmets, we got a whole lot of stuff going on in this league right now.
Yeah, we've been there are some things that unfortunately didn't come together, that we were hoping to have together by the start of 2021. There was a lot of meetings and stuff going on behind the scenes, and obviously the website just on its own is a huge project, but we're almost to the finish line. We may have one or two more surprises and announcements of companies coming in and coming on board to do some cool stuff, but we've made plenty of progress, and I'm really looking forward to this schedule and kind of seeing how we can represent ourselves well as a league all weekends long.
Well, it sounds awesome. And Big Dog 44 said the SFL is on fire. Yes, the SFL is definitely en fuego right now. Well, congrats, Cam, on all that stuff. Good luck with all of it going forward, especially over the next couple weeks as we kick off season 16. And thanks for coming on the show to break all that news for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. See you later, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Cam. All right, everybody. You heard it here first on Access Live. All the breaking news from the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, about the opening weekend, about the TV situation, the scheduling, the Lone Star Network. The Lacrosse Network, the website. I mean, I guess everything. It's a lot of good stuff happening here in the SFL. So, again, thanks to Cam for coming on and breaking all that news for us. Let's get back to the draft talk. I think I wrapped up with Albert just before Cam got here. So let me go back to Florida. Let's see if Doyle is back. Doyle, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. So let me pull those graphics back up real quick. So first round of the draft, you guys took that offensive lineman we talked about. Second round, you're the only team tonight that actually had 3 picks. You went linebacker with Maverick Hughes, another name that a lot of people knew. Was Maverick Hughes your guy? Were you just trying to fill the linebacker spot at that point? If he wasn't there, were you going to go in another direction? Tell us how that all broke down.
Okay, so I'm actually going back in our discussion. So we actually were wanting to get a running back in the second round. And then, because I was not there for the end of the first round, so I wasn't there for the discussion, but they wanted to get a running back. And we weren't even sure which running back we'll get. We'll talk about that on the third pick.
Yeah.
But then the morning of the next day, I was talking about how I just looked through all the people and I knew that Maverick would be off the board. And we had already said that we liked Maverick more than a lot of different things. So we ended up going with Maverick because we also had people like Riley Hughes and Siren Black and Sean Moore, and Ritter and Ray also on the board. But then we ended up picking Maverick, and we've liked Maverick honestly. We made a little pun out of it though because how Optimus goes by Maverick, and he has the San Diego Mavericks.
Yeah.
And we replaced the Maverick with the Maverick and all that. But he's also one of those that's going to be pretty good for us.
So you said the other linebackers that you liked, and obviously it makes sense, right? There was no need to grab a running back early. There was a bunch of running backs, not very many. I think you and one other team were the only teams that were going to draft them anyway. So linebacker, since you already got your offensive lineman, seemed like the smart fit here anyway. Tell us about Maverick, the person, why you liked him so much, and how is he fitting in the Florida locker room?
Honestly, before the draft, Mighty and Ryan were the ones I had talked to him more, so I really didn't have a read on him. I didn't have a read on any of the linebackers. I mainly did the running backs. But now that he is in the locker room, I've he hasn't talked a lot. None of the rookies have talked a lot, but they've talked enough where it's I think they will be with the system. And I think that's a big help to people like EJ Minson and Verdon Zarkov and people, rookies from the past 2 years that are just welcoming the new ones in.
Right, and how is Maverick handling it?
Honestly, don't know. Looks like it's pretty good. Haven't gotten any DMs recently, so.
I just got a DM from Cam that said he forgot something. So after we get done talking, I'll probably go back to him in a second. What was my other question? Maverick. I forgot my other question now. Look at Cam. Dude, Cam messed up my whole show. Unbelievable. Well, anyway, we'll talk about, if I remember it when I go back to you to talk about your third round pick, I'll bring it up then. But in the meantime, tell Maverick congrats for us, and then I'll talk to you again in a few minutes, Doyle.
All
right. Let me see. We're going to go to Mike All, but before we do, the commissioner's back on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if he has more breaking news or if he's just coming on to tell jokes and do stand-up. I don't know what he's doing, but Cam, long time no talk. Welcome back to the show. It's been a minute. Literally been a minute.
And we're Discord partners now. Boom! That's
true?
it.
Wait,
yeah.
Is that true?
That's true. Yes, we are now Discord partners. Happened yesterday. No more nitro boosts. We made it, baby.
Nice. All right. Well, congrats, SFL. Attaboy.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Cam. Thanks, bro. All right. There you go. How about that? Discord partners, SFL. What do you know? That's amazing. Mike All, let me bring you in here. So, we already got the chant down, the whole linebacker all the way. Uh, J Mart, second round linebacker. Um, Same question I asked you in the first. I mean, obviously, you guys knew you were going linebacker. You must have had just the whole list of all the linebackers, talked to all of them. And is this another thing where J Mart was your guy, or did you think he was going to land around this spot, or did he just fall to you?
So Jmart was my guy all along for this spot. I guess I'll have to openly admit here there was a little bit of nepotism involved. He's the nephew of one of my very good friends,
Okay.
and I mean he's a real good, positive guy. He put together a good build for his linebacker, and I've been impressed with the kid, and I knew going in that he was going to be our number 2 guy.
So were you because he was a family friend or a friend of a family member of a friend? Were you stressed out that he wouldn't make it to you? Because I know that we were about Deuce, right? He was a very popular receiver on the board, so we weren't even sure he was going to drop to 15 for us. Were you guys worried that J Mart would not be there?
You know, it seemed like a lot of guys were being looked at for their numerical value, and sure, a lot of their personality and stuff played into it. And again, like Keenan, and also like myself when I came in, he got there a little bit later. He didn't play in every game, and so numerically he was a little bit lower on the board. And so I figured he would definitely fly under everybody's radar and drop right into my lap, which of course he did.
Right. No, that's good. I like that strategy. How is Jay doing in the Jacksonville locker room?
Jay's a good fit. Like I said, he's a real positive guy, and he's a good fit. Been a little quiet lately because things are a little slow right now with the off season. But yeah, he's definitely enjoying his time there, and he was super excited when we drafted him. He was celebrating with all his friends. He was right there. It was a good feeling to see him so excited to get to the purple and gold.
That's awesome. Well, tell him congrats for us, and congrats to you guys for getting your linebackers that you wanted. And good luck in season 16. And thanks for being on the show, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. All right. So the last, but certainly not least, we're going right back to Doyle, the only team on the panel tonight that had a third round pick. Charlie Beletsky, who is another big name. He's a fan of the show. We see his name in the show all the time. See his name in the minor league chat. Saw him in the minor league. Very active person. So tell us what you hinted at in the second round about your running back situation, Doyle. Doyle, you're muted, bro. Doyle. Well, maybe we won't talk about Florida's third round draft pick. After all, you know what? Let me bring Tyler in while we're waiting to see if Doyle can get his tech issue together. Tyler, you know much about Charlie Beletsky?
Yeah, a whole lot. He's been one of the standout rookies of this class as far as personality goes, as far as how he presents himself, how he carries himself. Charlie Beletsky is a phenomenal person, and his play on the field deserved recognition. And we were all thinking coming into the draft, coming into night 3, that Florida would probably go somewhere else, and the only team that we saw really needing a running back was DC.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. Yeah,
right. DC picked up their man with the second overall pick in Kevin Say, and so we were thinking it's unfortunate for people like Charlie Beletsky to maybe not have a shot at jumping into the major leagues right away here in season 16. But Florida shocked the world basically when they decided to pick up Charlie Beletsky, and I don't know the exact reasoning behind it, but I have a feeling that Florida is probably going to go more conservative in terms of their playbook, maybe a little bit less passing, more play action, more run focus. But no,
well,
Charlie Beletsky is going to immediately make an impact.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's ask. I think we have Doyle back, so let's ask him that question. Doyle, can you hear me now?
Yes. So I can't say anything in particular since the contract realignments have not been stated, but Florida's going for a more northern appeal of a running game. If anyone understands what I'm like trying to point out by saying that.
Well, if
But
anybody understands it, put it in the chat because I sure don't.
but anyways, I think the main thing was we needed someone and we didn't just want to get a basic person somewhere else. So if I wanted to be replaced, I could just like go somewhere else to another position and
Right.
then replace myself like that. And I tried to do that last year, tried to do that in free agency. We had talked to guys, I think I've even talked about this on free agency, but we had talked to guys like Jalen Wells and literally every running back that became a free agent this year. And we almost signed like two or three, and then they went somewhere else. So eventually we were just like, nah, we're not going to sign anyone. We're going to draft someone. And who knows? We may keep the two-back look. We may not. Whoever may know.
Okay, so you were going to draft a running back. So why Charlie?
It was like a toss-up between like I think it was Charlie Bailey and a Bailey O'Shaughnessy that is, and then a few others. Um, I'm forgetting them off the top of my head, but it was definitely a few others. And we went with Charlie mainly because of his personality. We knew he would fit in with both like the older guys like Ron and the younger guys like EJ, and it worked pretty well. He has the personality that can fit with both the old guard and the young guard, which is I think something we kind of had to build its entire like young guard mentality with EJ and Marcus and Ethan, or yes, Ethan, and then all the other rookies that we've been bringing in over the past couple of years. And now we have a good, like, young to old mentality of we don't have all the old guys, but we also don't have all the young guys.
And he's adapting well, and that whole thing of younger guys and older guys is meshing well in Florida?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Awesome. All right. All right, Doyle. Thanks for coming on the show and breaking all that down for us. Appreciate it. Tell everybody, tell all your draft picks good luck, and good luck to you this season except for week 1.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, bro. All right. We are going to be moving on. Actually, let me see. Gunny, are you in the house still? Are you around?
Yes, sir.
Of course he is. Gunny's always here when I need him. What do you know? I actually have your music queued up this time, so you can.
I was ready for Ray to hum it today.
I know. I mean, we're waiting for everybody to put the lyrics in so we could all sing it together like Kumbaya.
Hey, she had it. She had it more than the first version too.
Yes, she did. I'm ready to go, so you can begin whenever you want, Gunny.
Hey, good evening, SFL. Great show as always. Show number 54. And in honor of Harish, show number 69 is in 15 more shows, which will be about March the 2nd, which will be a Tuesday. Gunny has been doing some retro thought processing. He went back to the season 14 draft, which was about a year ago, maybe 13 months ago. And out of the top 20 picks, which we will go over, 13 of the 20 are still in the league, and 10 of those 13 are on the original teams. The number 1 overall pick to St. Louis was Johnny Pickler. The number 2 pick, Carolina, Riley Combs. Number 3 pick, Arizona, Mark Mello. He's still at Arizona. Number 4 pick, New Orleans, was Bryce Lincoln, no longer in the league. Number 5 was Charleston, Lyric Da Vinci. He's still in the league. Number 6, Vancouver, Lee Adama. Number 7, London, Matthew Braun. Number 8, QCC, Jet Zero. Number 9, Las Vegas, Reed Mitchell. Number 10, Sioux Falls, James Kelly. Number 11, Houston, Jacob Clear. Number 12, Tulsa, Berto Demora. Number 13, Chicago, Mike and Proda. Number 14, Dave Access, Atlanta. Number 15, Florida, Alessandro Tamale, or however you say his last name. I know I didn't say it well. Number 16, Mexico City, Phoenix Jones. Number 17, Jacksonville, Suko Lomano. Number 18, Baltimore, Mac Chima. Number 19, Seattle, Ray Zor. And number 20, the Denver Nightwings, Nick Candler. And with that, that is the first round of the Season 14 draft. Next week, we will be going over rounds 2 and 3. And with that, that is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thanks for that recap. That was a great draft, actually. I mean, way back when we only had 20 teams, way back in the day. Ray, we're going to have to get you, I think from now on, right before I go to Gunny, we should have you post those lyrics in the chat, and then everybody can just sing along in their heads while the music plays and Gunny talks. We got a whole production thing going on over here on Access Live. What do you know? All right, it is time for us to move into what I'm actually going to make the After Dark portion because the show is running a little long with Cam coming on, which is a good thing. We're going to have our 3 rookies talk about their compelling personal stories as the After Dark portion this evening. If there's a few of you that are still around after that and you want to, we want to chat it up about some of the stuff we can, but I want to concentrate on this. I've talked to all of these guys. I know their stories. They're all amazing. Like I said earlier, you're going to want to get the Kleenex box ready. I'm going to start with Chris Lee. Chris, you were the 6th overall pick, first wide receiver off the board to Los Angeles. So first of all, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And welcome to the show. Go ahead and I'm just going to kind of let you, do your thing. I'm not going to ask you a million questions. I just want you, and I'm going to ask the other 2 to do the same thing, and then maybe I'll ask some follow-up questions. But I just want you to tell the SFL Nation your story.
So my story actually revolves around being the first wide receiver picked off the board and how amazing it felt. Because back in school, I wasn't always necessarily the best athlete or the smartest person or the most popular. So I was usually one of the last people picked for anything where you're like, pick your partners, or like sports where you go back and forth. Very usual for someone who was semi-nerdy like I was. But on top of that, another thing specifically in sports that really affected me was in January of 2003, I was a freshman in high school at the ripe young age of 14 years old. And it was the 28th of January that I was actually diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's large B-cell lymphoma in my stomach cavity. And I was quickly rushed up to Rochester Strong Memorial. During my time there, I had a lung collapse. I had many of tubes in me up my nose. It was pretty bad. I had allergic reactions to some antiviral medicines that I now have to be careful with any antibiotics that I take. I was down to probably about 63, somewhere between 63 and 70 pounds. Now, I've always been smaller and short. I was probably 5'2", 130 pounds full of liquids before I went in, normally around 100, 110. So definitely dropping down to 70 was a lot of weight to lose for me. But thankfully, with the nurses and chemotherapy, I didn't have to have any x-ray therapy or radiation or any surgeries, well, specifically to remove the cancer. I was back in school the next school year. I wasn't exactly 100% physically, and my mom was extremely nervous that I would have a hard time going to my classes. But, yeah.
So, Chris, let me ask you a couple questions. I'm assuming you've done a lot of research on this type of cancer. When you normally get the diagnosis for this kind of cancer, is it usually, immediately life-threatening? Does it have a good success rate? How does this cancer break down for most people?
So, non-Hodgkin's large B-cell lymphoma is more of an old man's cancer. You generally find it in males over the age of 55, 60, and it's very uncommon to be in a youthful male teenager or in general. But on top of that, it's also a fast growing cancer. So the doctors said that I could have had it anywhere from a month to 3 months or maybe a little more. And on top of that, they said if I came in even a week later, I might not have made it. I was already close to not making it several times due to complications with the antibiotics that I took.
So, so you didn't have to have surgery to remove the cancer. The radiation and chemo took care of it all. But this is such an aggressive cancer that you only had it for approximately a few months, and within another week, if you had waited 1 week longer, we may not be having this conversation right now.
Correct. And when I said I didn't have any surgery to have any removed, I will also add that they thought I had a hernia, and that hernia actually became a life-saving thing because it wasn't a hernia. It was actually part of the tumor that was growing down there. And because they couldn't push the hernia, what they thought was a hernia, back in, they took me under the knife, opened me up, and found that it was part of the tumor and was able to take a piece of it to diagnose exactly what it was.
Okay, so they did the biopsy and found out it was cancer or tumor. So did they go back and remove the tumor at all, or was it just strictly radiation and chemo from there?
It was strictly chemotherapy from there. The biopsy, they actually didn't even know. They knew I had cancer and the tumors and where they were, but they didn't know what exact cancer it was until that biopsy moment.
Biopsy, right? Wow, bro. 14-year-old kid, everybody, diagnosed, a small kid as it is, diagnosed with a terribly aggressive cancer. Lost 30, 40 pounds over it, and was within a week of not even being able to be here and be part of this great SFL. So, Chris, first of all, thank you for coming on here and telling us your story. We're so very happy that you made it through that. And last question before I let you go and move on. I'm assuming you have to have regular checks as you get older. Has there been any sense of it coming back ever?
Thankfully, actually, the obviously doctors can't say there's a 0% chance, but because of the type of cancer it is, the probability of it coming back after 5 years of negative tests is so close to zero that I'm more likely to develop another type of cancer than it is to come back.
Right.
It is possible, obviously, that as I get older, I could once again develop non-Hodgkin's large B-cell lymphoma,
Right.
but more of a new instance of it than a instance of it coming back from when I was 14.
Okay. All right. Well, especially you're gonna have to watch out when you get above that 55 age threshold, right?
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah.
my mom worries about me all the time because my grandpa actually died of prostate cancer.
Well, that's what moms do, bro. That's what they do.
Colon cancer, my
Colon
apologies.
cancer.
Colon cancer.
Yeah. Well, stay healthy. Keep getting checked. Again, thank you for coming on and telling your story. I know sometimes these things aren't easy, so I appreciate you coming on here and telling the story to everybody.
I appreciate letting me. It's very interesting information that helps explain why I am how I am.
Well, we love you just the way you are, Chris. So thanks again for coming on, and good luck this season in the SFL.
Thank you very much. It'll be a blast.
You got it, bro. All right, everybody. That was Chris Lee, rookie wide receiver for Los Angeles, sixth overall pick. An amazing story of strength and courage as a 14-year-old boy dealing with a very deadly and aggressive cancer. So these are the people, that are in the SFL. These are the people, that we know. We're friends on Discord and in the show chat or whatever, and we're buddies. But people don't really know people. They don't know necessarily their backgrounds, their history, where they came from, what they've gone through. So I think it's important that we try to get to know each other and figure these things out. So I want to thank all three of my guests tonight for coming on to do this. My next guest to tell his story. Now, some of you have already heard his story on his own show, or maybe on Ashley's show. I don't remember where he told it, where I heard it. But Tyler, before we introduce your guest that's with you tonight, can you kind of just give everybody a recap on your story before we talk to your guest as well?
So, do you mind if I introduce him, Dave?
No, do your thing, bro.
Okay. So, for those that haven't heard and those that have heard, I've made my player, Mike Ryan, is off of a real live person that meant a whole lot to me and to my family in the early the 1990s and the 2000s. And Mike Ryan was pivotal into developing and forming the person I am today. But I don't think that I can better describe Mike Ryan than my father, Doug Falk, who is actually my guest here tonight. So, Dad, you had a better idea with Mike, and you had more time with Mike as he was your supervisor, the chief in your shop. So why don't you introduce yourself, Dad, and let us know about Mike a little bit more.
Yeah, good evening to you all. I appreciate what you guys are doing here, and thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely, Doug. Thank you for being on the show.
Sure. As Tyler said, Mike Ryan, Chief Mike Ryan, he was with the Air Force, and he was my supervisor back in the late '90s and early 2000s until he retired. Well, this guy would literally give his shirt off the back to anybody who would come to his door or come to his office. He would help people out. I don't know how this guy did, but he would help people out by giving them money, fixing their car. Just wouldn't charge them anything. So that's why Tyler was talking about. This guy, Mike Ryan, would a very good mentor to me. That helped me to get to where I am today, the chief in the Air Force as we speak. Well, this guy that Mike Ryan, he retired, and what happened was we were putting new doors and windows in our house. Well, this Mike had to keep on sitting down that afternoon on the trailer we had in our backyard because he would turn white as a ghost. And then I said, "Man, you got the flu going on here." I says, "Let's just put you in your truck and send you on your way and get you home." He goes, "No, I need to get this window done for you, Doug, because it takes two people to lift this window up." Okay, I says, "Let's do this last window." Well, we put this last window in, and he went right to the trailer right away because he was so weak. We couldn't figure out what's going on with the guy, but within 10 minutes, you get his colors back in his skin and all that stuff, and he's like normal. We couldn't figure it out, but I sent him home anyway. Well, his wife, Ruby, would never, ever call me at all. So 3 days went by, and Ruby calls me on the phone, and right away I says, "What's wrong with Mike?" Well, he was in the hospital. He had open heart surgery, and they found cancer. Well, the cancer was literally a strand of cancer tied to his heart and to his liver. And they just closed him up because they couldn't do nothing with that poor man. But that man kept on fighting for his family, fighting for his neighbor, and get the shirt off his back to help everybody else out. Well, he knew he had limited number of days left. What that man did, he took care of his family. He got the house all ready, new siding, new everything. So his wife and his kids would be taken care of for years before he passed away. Well, he passed away January 10th, 2010. It'll be 10 years this coming couple days from now. But this kids, when they go into his garage, they still find money that he hid in the toolboxes and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Knowing to take care of his kids. So they're finding $100 bills all over in his garage. So and take care of his kids. He just hit him in there because his kids would be looking for something down the road and like an oil pan or some oil, and there's $100 bill sitting right behind it. This guy was totally amazing. So that's why Tyler says that this guy really was a blessing for Tyler, because this guy would sit down and talk to each individual. It doesn't matter if he was a guy off the street or he knew this person. He treated you like his own brother and his own sibling and everything. So this guy was totally a God-given person. So, well, that's my story, guys. That's where Mike Ryan came from Tyler. And I'm very proud that Tyler created a guy in that Mike Ryan. So I just hope his legacy continues with his family. As I said, they continue to keep on finding money where hidden around the garage and around the house, and his legacy goes on there. So
He certainly sounds amazing. Doug, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
go right ahead, sir.
So, for how long was it from the time that they opened him up and found the cancer till he passed away?
Oh, 2 years. It was the 2 years and 1 month he passed away.
So that was for 2008 is when they, or end of
2008
2007 or December
in
2007.
2000. Yep.
Okay.
And when Mike passed away, as soon as he passed away, his family gave me a call. I got to go see him before the coroner got there. So when I went and saw Mike, they had him sitting in a chair with a blanket, and he was still warm. And I got to see him before the coroner got taken away. That's how much his family I meant to their family, because Mike and I go way back. We helped each other out. I didn't tell you the whole story because it's pretty lengthy, but him and I would do a lot of stuff together just to help both families out. That's why I said he helped me get to where I'm at today in the Air Force as a chief as I speak. So.
And how old was he when he passed away?
He was 62.
62. Okay, so
Yep.
he retired from the Air Force as a chief.
Yep.
And lived to be 62. Passed away. You said it's January of 2010. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Is there any last words you want to say about him before I move on to our next guest?
No. I said all I could, and I just leave it as it is, because Mike is surely, I think his legacy continues in his home. Because I'm sure, like I said, they're still finding trinkets around there that his kids they think he's still looking after them. So
Yeah,
as we speak, so
that's just amazing. Actually, I do have one last question for you, real quick. When
Sure.
are you joining the SFL?
I don't know if I could do that. Tell you what.
Oh, come on, Dad. Come on. We already got Mike. Get a crate yourself.
Well, tell you what. Why don't you we'll talk about it. How about that? Well, I'll give you that much and see what we can.
Hey,
do.
Tyler, like I'm a dad. I know the deal. When your dad says we'll talk about it later, that just means no.
No, I tell you what. I'd give you a shot. Let's talk about it. We'll talk offline. How about that?
That's perfect. That's awesome. Well, Doug, first
you got my email, so
perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Doug, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing that. I know it's tough, to talk about best friends that have passed away, especially under those kind of circumstances. So I just want to thank you from the entire show, the entire SFL, for coming on with Tyler tonight to tell that story about Mike Ryan.
Yeah, no problem, you guys. And you guys have a good night. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome anytime. Thanks again.
You bet. Let's talk.
All right. Tyler, you want anything you want to add before I move on to Evan?
No, just a couple of things. This is actually the first time that I've heard about how extensive Mike Ryan's cancer was. I didn't know it was. Sorry,
no, that's
I didn't know it was that crazy.
Yeah, that it was so bad that they just closed him right back up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So apologies for getting a little choked up over here, but
I think we all completely understand it, bro. Don't worry about it.
But no, just Dad sitting. I mean, he's in a different area of the building, but basically, Dad took the same office that Mike held. They hadn't had a chief since Mike Ryan with the National Guard, with where my dad works, and just for my dad to take Mike Ryan's spot, almost literally, it means so much. It means so much to my dad. It means so much to my family, and it's because of Mike and because of my dad that I'm in the Air Force too. So I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the kind of person I am without Mike and my dad. So it just means a lot. It means a lot to me to see Mike get for Mike Ryan, even for him to go first overall. I had no intention of creating a player to begin the league, and I had no intention of. I couldn't even fathom Mike even going first round. So it means a lot. It means a lot for how the SFL community has accepted Mike, accepted me, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
Okay, awesome. Tyler, thank you, bro, for coming on. Thank you for bringing your dad, and thanks to both of you for sharing that story.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it, bro. Okay, I am now going to move on to my last guest, and I told you guys to keep your Kleenex nearby. I already know you guys have been using it for the first two stories. You're definitely going to be using it for this story. I want to welcome to the program Lone Star's second-round draft pick at free safety, Mr. Evan Lacey. Evan, how are you, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Dave. Good evening, SFL. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're a little low, but you're okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries at all. So just like the other two, I just want to open it up and just let you tell your story.
Well, first and foremost, I would like to let Kramer, Ashley, Chris Lee know that you guys will be in my family prayers. Secondly, Tyler, Mr. Doug Falk, thank you for sharing so much that wonderful story about Mike Ryan. And what's ironic is that the way that you describe Mike Ryan is the way that Evan Lacey was. Evan Lacey is actually my son. I'm Van Lacey. So the way that I came about joining the SFL was Evan was taken from us December. Well, he went missing December 17th, 2019. And no. Well, yeah, 2019. And then there was a search for him for like 2 weeks. We couldn't find him. The last thing I remember was telling Evan, have a good day. I was leaving to go to work, and I never saw him again. But the reason I say he reminds me a lot of Mike Ryan is because Evan was the type who would literally give his jacket, hit the shirt off of his back, the jacket off of his back, to anyone else who needed it. I mean, there was many times that I had to have conversations with Evan about, he would come home in freezing weather without a jacket. And I'm like, dude, where's your jacket? And he would tell me, well, Dad, I saw this guy on the side of the road who was homeless, and he had a short sleeve shirt on. So I gave him my jacket. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking to myself, how can you be upset with a kid like that?
Right.
I mean, he was blessed, with two working parents who's able to give him, a decent lifestyle, to where he didn't have to worry about going without a coat. I mean, and it went far beyond that. I mean, it was instances where he would go and purchase food for himself, him and his friends. He would see somebody, homeless, and instead of eating the food himself, he would give it to them. And not only that, but also invite them to church. I mean, that's just the type of person he was. So in that manner, he reminds me a lot of Mike Ryan, from the way Tyler and Doug spoke of Mr. Ryan. But I digress. Um, so Evan went missing December 17th last year, and we didn't. We did a search. We did multiple flyer distributions around the community. I mean, if you want, you all can look it up on Google. Just Google his name, Evan Lacey, Lacey, and his body was found January 3rd last year, and he was murdered. Um, his killer still hasn't been found. It was homicide. Um, yeah. So I have dedicated the rest of my life to spreading my son's legacy, his name, his word, his story to whoever I can spread it to. And one day, during the past year, I've had many many difficult moments, not knowing how to really express or state positive. Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So one day I was just watching TV, scrolling through the channels, and I came across a game on TV. And just like I've heard other people say, I think Bo Martin said this on Ashley's show. It intrigued me that even though it wasn't real players, it was still real commentators. And it was like a light went off. Well, wow, this is a way I can spread my son's legacy, Evan's legacy, to the world, and not even thinking about the relationships that would be built. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about putting Evan's story out because Evan was such a great athlete, such a great leader. He played football since he was 8 years old. He always played quarterback, multiple skill positions, running back, cornerback, safety, receiver, any skill position on the field. He was excellent, proficient at. Even on the basketball court. He played point guard, shooting guard, small forward. And the thing is, even though he was a good leader on and off the field, he was also, I guess, so to speak, the team's enforcer. If anybody messed with somebody on his team, he was the one to take up for them, to make sure nobody was going to push them around. And a lot of the boys always looked up to him for that. My home, always, every weekend, we had at least 5 boys spending the night at the house. And me and my wife, we didn't have a problem with that because at least we knew where they were, who he was with, and what they were doing. So it was plenty of nights, plenty of weekends. My wife would cook for everybody. I would take them to their games, whether it was 200 miles away. I would do that because this is what my son wanted to do. He was a great kid, and he was such a benefit not only to us but to other people.
So, I'm sorry, Van. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, I was just gonna ask a couple questions. You mentioned that people can Google Evan Lacey online to find out about what happened to him. You said they still have not found the murderer.
Right.
Is there anything else that's being done that people can help out with to try to bring this man to justice? Is there, any kind of website set up, any kind of flyer situation, GoFundMe, anything like that?
Well, there's a group, the The group is called Find Our Missing Evans Hope. The group was originally just named Find Our Missing, and then once they got involved with our story, they changed it. They added Evans Hope.
Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry. Find our missing
Find Our Missing Evans Hope.
Evans Hope. Okay.
And they have a Facebook page. And I think they have a website as well. My wife and I, we are honorary board members. But what other? Did you have any other questions? I'm sorry, Dave.
No. Just go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
I'll interrupt you.
Okay. So I'm walking around because I'm very emotional, but yeah, Evan was a great kid. Never, everybody looked up to him as far as being a leader, as far as being a friend. He knew when to be goofy. He knew when to be serious. Anytime he recognized that someone needed to be lifted up, he would be the person to do so. He would step up and do so. So when I saw the game on TV, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and create a profile in Evan's name, in Evan's likeness, in his, every proportion of the player Evan Lacey is true to who he was. He mainly played running back his senior year, but he did also play some free safety. So running back wasn't available, so I did choose, the next best thing was free safety. Yeah, so it's
Evan, let me
Go
ask.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Van. Let me ask you. How old was Evan?
Evan was 19 when he was murdered.
And that anniversary just came up last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been a very hard holiday season for my wife and I. I do have another kid. I have a daughter who's older than Evan. She's about to make 23. But for the three of us, this holiday season just hasn't been the same. Without Evan around, it just hasn't been the same. So I know, here lately I haven't been as active in chat, but that's why, because I've been a little bit struggling a bit, but at the same time, I know that he wants us to push on. He don't want us to, be sad. So that's why I try to stay upbeat as much as I can. The SFL League is, people say, like Bo said earlier today on Ashley's show, we're a family, and that's true. I never imagined that, I was just joining just to promote Evan's name and put his story out. But it's more than that. I mean, yeah, I can, if I'm down, I can reach out. I can go into the locker room of Lone Star and share whatever my feelings are. And you guys are always there to pick me up and just let me know that you're praying for me and my family. And that's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's understandable, obviously, the way you're feeling, not just because of the situation, but with the anniversary this time of year. You don't need to apologize for that at all, Van. We completely understand that. I want to thank you for having the strength and the courage to come on the show tonight to tell your story to everyone in the SFL chat, or in the SFL Nation, basically. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Evan before we wrap this up?
As we grow up as kids, I think it's normal that for young men growing up, your father's your hero. For young women, your mother is your hero. But for me, my son was my hero,
Hmm.
and I can't I can't express that enough. I mean, it's not. I don't even think that's common for a father to look at his son as his hero. But the way that my son was, his personality, his traits, his you know, I thank God for giving me the strength and whatever else he blessed me with to raise such a great kid. And I feel honored to be his father. Um, yeah,
Well, it sounds like Evan was an amazing young man. It sounds like you and your wife did a wonderful job raising him. And if you,
thank you.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the chat, but it looks like people are putting the link in there, and people are starting to donate already to your son's cause. So,
Oh
uh,
wow.
this, ooh, you know what? Sorry, Evan. You getting to me, buddy? Um, I have two boys myself, so this is hitting home for me too. So, sorry about that.
No, you
I
good.
can't say enough. Evan sounds amazing. I'm glad. I'm more than glad that you chose to honor him and his name, not just with this league, but with Lone Star, with our team. So, uh,
Man, yeah.
so thank you for coming on tonight to share that wonderful story about what was just a wonderful kid Evan was. Van, thank you for doing that tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I'm so grateful for Lone Star drafting Evan. Um, it just, I think I told, well, I know I told Tyler before, whenever, I mean, his mother watches the games with me, even the scrimmages. And anytime we hear Evan's name being called out, it is such a thrill. It is such, our hearts are overwhelmed. And because it reminds us of the times that we heard, from the time he was 8 years old playing football, all the way up until 18. Um, you know, and it just brings back good memories. And this league has done so much for not only my psyche, but also my wife's.
Well, that's awesome to hear, and I got to tell you, I'm sure I will be one of many people in a very long line of people that are going to want to meet you and your wife if whenever we have our next convention. So, Van,
Absolutely.
Van, again, thank you so much for coming on. Please give our best to your wife, and we'll keep posting the link. We'll put it also in the server, and see if we can't find the person responsible for this terrible tragedy.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh,
Thank you, SFL.
thank you, Van. All right, everybody. Woo, I don't. I'm glad we only have four stories. I don't know if I could take or only three stories. I don't think I could take in a fourth right now. So, let me compose myself for a moment. We're gonna wrap up the show. We're not gonna do any more after dark. I think that's the way to end the show right there. So, special thank yous to my panelists tonight: Harish Prasad, J.W. Doyle, Mike All, Albert Begin, Marlon Marshall, and Tyler Falk. Special thanks to Cam for popping on to give us the SFL breaking news. A very, very special thanks to Chris Lee, um, to Tyler Falk, and to Doug Falk, and to Evan Lacey for coming on the show and sharing their, I called it compelling. I don't know how else to describe it, but their stories of three rookies that have basically have come to the SFL and linked tragedy in their life to their player here in the SFL. I think it's pretty amazing. I think it's a great community that we have here. I love the love and the support that everybody puts out for everyone that goes through situations like Kramer Jackman right now with COVID, what Ashley's going through with her. I believe Tyler, you said it was her father. And there's something about this community that really rallies behind people when people are struggling. So thank you, SFL Nation, for rallying tonight and every night for the people in this league. So that being said, starting the next show, the next 3 shows will be we'll break down divisions. We're going to have panelists on to break down teams and divisions. We're going to have previews and predictions. So stick around for that. We'll do 2 divisions per show for the next 3 shows, and we'll knock them all out before the kickoff show the Thursday before the opening weekend in the SFL. So again, thank you everybody for watching and listening. Thank you for all the interaction in the chat. Thank you for the wonderful comments, and especially to these last 3 guys and the posting the link and the whole 9 yards. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. So otherwise, please have a glorious weekend, and I'll see you next week at the Tees.